Jake Paul and Mike Tyson now have been suspended from boxing after a controversial fight in Texas.
Jake Paul has been officially arrested, and it feels like karma finally showed up. After repeatedly scamming people, he's now facing the consequences. This time, Jake, you've tangled with the wrong crowd. Boxing fans won't let this slide easily.
The whole thing was scripted. The whole thing was just a money grab. And for a lot of us,
Jake Paul's antics have finally caught up with him, and this time he's facing an audience far less forgiving than his TikTok followers. Boxing fans won't hesitate to tear down his inflated ego, leaving him rethinking his scam-filled ventures. And let's not forget, this scripted boxing charade is just one offense on his extensive list of fraudulent schemes. From fake fights to shady business deals, Jake has consistently exploited his so-called influence for profit. Now, the tables have turned and justice is served. Jake Paul, more like Joke Paul, this time the punchline is on him. Deliciously satisfying.
28-year-old kid who, used to be a YouTuber, and he's worked hard to learn boxing. He really has. He's come along, but really, he's still not of that level.
Let's rewind, because Jake Paul's chaotic rise to infamy started long before this latest disaster. Back in his Vine days, he wasn't just annoying, he was outright toxic. His past includes allegations of bullying, blackmail, and even police reports tying him to cyberbullying so severe it allegedly led to suicide attempts. Fast forward to 2017, and we get Team 10. Jake's dystopian YouTube collective. In reality, it was a nightmare. Phones tapped, members spied on, lives controlled, a cult with bad merch. The irony? He's the first to complain about hurt feelings while leaving destruction in his wake. Inspiring indeed.
I don't like the fact that keep messing with that mouthpiece.
Oh, left hook! Triple left hook by Paul!
Mike is hurt. Mike's hurt.
The drama didn't end there. Remember that infamous mansion? Neighbors called the police 47 times for chaos ranging from explosions to arson. One girl was even injured during one of Jake's reckless stunts. But don't worry, Jake handled it in true Jake Paul fashion, by throwing money at the problem. No apology, just hush cash. Classic. Meanwhile, as he wreaked havoc in the neighborhood, he was busy inflating his online success with bots. Up to 40% of his views were fake, making his fame just as authentic as his overhyped boxing career.
At the end of the day, Jake Paul's fans got screwed while he got rich. But I guess anything to get that bag, right? We'll see how that excuse holds up in court.
Why stop at botting views when you can scam kids out of their allowances? Enter the financial freedom movement, Jake Paul's pandemic-era cash grab. For a few $100, he promised kids they'd become millionaires without leaving their rooms. What did they actually get? Repackaged internet guides and plagiarized tips from real business coaches, while Jake walked away $2 million richer in just 3 months. Honestly, his speed at scamming is almost impressive. If scamming were a sport, he might actually deserve a title belt. Then came the crypto scams. Junk tokens and pump and dump schemes became his bread and butter, leaving loyal fans broke while he pocketed millions. Jake's hustle knows no bounds or ethics.
We're in between these two extremes. He's not as dumb as you guys probably think he is, but he's also not as smart as he thinks he is. So even though Jake Paul is going to try to hide his various crypto accounts,
let's talk about the Doink token scandal, where Jake Paul secretly owned 100% of the tokens. He hyped them to his fans, then dumped them, walking away with $10 million, while his supporters were left holding the bag. And who could forget his NFT disaster, a $4 million cash grab that vanished faster than Jake's fan base when the FBI came knocking. As for his boxing career, Jake didn't step into the ring for glory or even a shred of dignity. His foray into boxing was just another chapter in his long, sordid history of con artistry. Take his underground matches in Los Angeles, for example. These weren't fights. They were bare-knuckle money laundering machines, with bets reaching up to $1 million per match. Jake turned the ring into his personal casino of chaos. 5 fighters left with injuries so severe they might never fully recover, and one vanished entirely. That's not a legacy, it's a true crime documentary in the making.
At the end of the day, Jake Paul's fans got screwed while he got rich, but I guess anything to get that bag, right? We'll see how that excuse holds up in court.
Why stop at underground fights when you can rig official ones? Enter the Anison-Gibb fight in 2020, a spectacle as fake as Jake Paul's humble beginnings. Rumor has it that Gibb pocketed a $500,000 bonus to take a dive in the first round. Why rely on talent when offshore accounts buzz louder than a Vegas slot machine? Millions were funneled out before the fight even ended. And if that wasn't nauseating enough, 2021 brought us the Ben Askren debacle. A staggering $30 million in fake bets flooded the market, and Askren folded to a punch so weak it couldn't knock over a paper bag. Whispers of bribery turned into outright screams, but Jake strutted on, confident his bulging bank account could knock out any accusation.
Paul got paid 39.9 Ethereum for the Sacred Devils promotional scam, which you can see right here. It's worth $139,000, which puts him on the board, which later linked up with a huge ring of NFT scammers we busted, actually.
And then there are Jake Paul's extracurriculars, the kind that involve private planes and suspicious pit stops in cartel territory. Yes, you heard that right, cartel connections. Jake's so-called training camps in Mexico conveniently included detours to areas notorious for banned substances. Coincidence? Only if you believe in fairy tales. Let's not overlook the 3 convicted drug smugglers on his team either. His real training regimen? Dodging the law while pretending to box. Honestly, Jake's career isn't about fitness. It's about cramming as many scams as possible into one lifetime. Then came the piece de résistance. Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. A leaked script revealed the entire fraud for what it was. A carefully orchestrated clown show disguised as a fight.
When you stayed home and you turned on Netflix that night, we were like, holy I'm about to see the greatest live sporting event of all time.
Tyson was instructed to pull his punches, moving slower than a tortoise stuck in quicksand, all to make Jake look halfway decent. This is the same Tyson who once knocked out opponents in seconds. His training videos showed a sharp, deadly fighter, but in the ring, he seemed to forget what sport he was in. It was embarrassing. A masterclass in mediocrity designed to fuel Jake's delusional dream of being a legitimate boxer. The leaked script was uglier than Jake's boxing form. Everything was choreographed to make him seem like a prodigy. This wasn't boxing, it was bad theatre, and the fallout absolutely glorious. Both Jake and Tyson are now tangled in lawsuits, with the International Boxing Association breathing down their necks. Tyson, who cashed in a disappointing $20 million, is accused of throwing the fight to protect Jake's fragile ego. Meanwhile, Netflix, which streamed this disaster, is drowning in a class action lawsuit. Fans who paid for what was supposed to be a historic match were left with buffering crashes and a fight so low quality it begged to be pirated. Now, the fans want their money back. Can you blame them?
Paul just got Netflix sued. People got a big problem with this stream cutting out.
The internet had a field day, of course. Hardcore boxing fans expecting a clash of titans were instead served a lukewarm pantomime, dubbed the world's most expensive reality show. Memes flooded social media, with Tyson mocked for seemingly searching for his lost keys mid-fight, and Jake roasted for posing instead of defending. If turning a sport into a comedy act were an Olympic event, Jake would take home all the gold. But Jake wasn't content with just ruining boxing. He had to bankrupt fans too. Allegedly, his scams and staged fights have cost fans over $200 million. When the FBI came knocking, the treasures they found were shocking. Hard drives loaded with evidence of shady transactions worth $50 million, offshore money laundering schemes, and doping scandals large enough to keep Netflix stock with documentaries for years. Jake Paul isn't just a fraud. He's a walking, talking crime syndicate, dragging anyone dumb enough to work with him into his swirling vortex of deceit.
Publicly tagged on OpenSea as the problem child, which is one of Jake's favorite names for himself. So this is kind of promising, right? You've got this wallet receiving $200,000 in SafeMoon, and then it sending that money over to something called the problem child on OpenSea.
Let's not forget how Tyson, the baddest man on the planet, willingly stepped into Jake's circus and ended up branded as a co-conspirator in the biggest scam boxing has ever seen. His once pristine legacy now lies in tatters, forever smudged by his association with Jake Paul, the king of influencer fraud. Together, they've proven that influencer boxing isn't just a joke, it's a disease. And Jake Paul is the virus spreading it. Yet, through all of this, people still called him a boxing prodigy. A prodigy of what, exactly? Fraud, manipulation, and exploitation. Jake Paul isn't a fighter. He's a scam artist who happened to find an audience gullible enough to believe his lies. Every fight, every deal, every dollar is just another chapter in the book of how to fool the world for fun and profit. So yes, Jake Paul getting arrested isn't just justice, it's karma. And honestly, it's been a long time coming. If there's any silver lining to this mess, it's that maybe, just maybe, people will finally see him for what he truly is. A fraudster in gloves. Nothing more. Catch you in the next one. Take care and stay awesome.